All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else and what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Now, this is a very special episode, everybody, because this is the first episode of 2020, a new year, a new decade, and our very special guest and featured titan for today, Dan Bertelson. Dan, thank you so much for taking the time. Absolute honor to have you.
You bet. Thank you, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I just cannot wait to dive into the series of questions. Everybody out there, I wish we were hitting record earlier. We were on for about 30 minutes beforehand, and Dan is just absolutely incredible. A mind, a brain for everybody out there to share the knowledge of real estate. So, Dan, if you're ready, let's just jump in. So let's go into, I guess, the first question. Let's telling everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, from the real estate industry side of things, I guess I started after a brief career in law enforcement, and I was in the Army Reserves. So coming out of high school, I had I didn't have a professional career choice in mind. I was going to be in law enforcement for sure.
Wow.
Long haul. Okay. And I did that for about 3 years, including when I was under the age of 21, and they used and abused me, as an underage cop. So that was interesting, to say the least. I wanted my days to be different every day, and I wanted it to be with people, and all those little, question and answer things about what you should do all pointed towards that.
Wow.
Enjoyed it immensely. I think it's kind of what motivated me too, because I wanted to be in the military, and I think there was that whole wannabe hero thing.
Wow.
I want to be there to help other people. I wanted to be there when it counts, type of thing. So I got to do those things, and I also was spending some time in a jail as a deputy, and not enjoying myself very much. And I got deployed over to Iraq, and right before I went was when my mother-in-law, who's to this day still my business partner here at RE/MAX, and she is like, you should really try this, what I've been doing, this real estate stuff for a long time, and you'd be great at it. And kind of the rest is history. Had our first couple of deals before I left for overseas, and came back, and the industry was still banging along and doing well. And we were in a kind of large multi-office RE/MAX outfit in the South Central Wisconsin area, Madison area, and we decided, as we were working together teams weren't really a big deal yet, but we were kind of a co-op, so to speak. So, and a lot of, co-marketing and advertising. And then the hit, the downfall, the downturn of, 08 and 09, it's getting to be long ago. We actually have to start saying when it was now.
That's right.
But yeah, it's been almost a decade, right?
Yeah.
So, or it has. But so 09, I think, was when it hit bottom, and over by us anyway. And 2011, my mother-in-law and I then bought out an 8-office franchise at the time. There was about 60 agents there, and so we slowly kind of remodeled offices and kind of put them back where they were. And the analogy that I've always used, or to explain where we came from or what we did, was we had this gorgeous room with a bunch of awesome brand new machines, tech machines, fax machines, whatever you want to call them, copy machines.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the new touch screens. They were gorgeous and everything. And
right.
Nothing was plugged in, and nobody knew how to use them, is kind of how I felt. And I was like, but I loved our brand. I loved the systems and tools we had, and I wanted to re-engage all that. So we did. And now we have 12 offices and 110 people, and we still even have some of that original 62, but it's been a 9-year process of remodeling, building from scratch, or moving. I think we did a total of 14 office locations now, and we're down to 12.
Wow.
So we learned a ton, about that. Throughout that period of time, I got married when I got home, had three children, and
Love it.
work with my mother-in-law every day. So obviously there's a lot of family involvement, as there seems to be in real estate.
Sure.
And now we're plugging away, changing with the market, adapting, new models, different looking offices, certainly new tech coming down the line all the time, changes. So exciting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, real estate is a phenomenal industry,
Yeah.
and the amount of change that's happening is just incredible. And you see
Yeah.
it every single day, Dan. But going from, like you said, from law enforcement to military professional to real estate professional, that story kind of really paints that picture. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into
Sure.
you and what drives and kind of motivates you that way. So this next
Yeah.
question is going to give everybody a little bit deeper understanding as to what your why is, Dan. I mean, what
Sure.
gets you excited every day, motivated to do what you do to the level that you do it at? What's your why?
Sure. I know that question's been just asked a ton over the years, since Simon Sinek wrote his book. Pretty much it got really popular, and
I'm a fan of Simon.
Simon's probably one of my favorite authors ever. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about the question, and it was funny. I even was like, which version do I give Greg if he asks that question? What version of why I do this? And I think it's changed. Number one. So over the last, I've been in business. We'll just say I've been in business. I've been in the real estate business and in RE/MAX for 16 years. I'm now on, 2 national broker councils with leadership. I try and soak up as much coaching and stuff I can. My network is truly my net worth. We're starting to say that a lot. Like the people that are within it. I am absolutely, bar none, one of the richest, dudes you can meet when it comes to who's in my network. And
well said.
I feel really fortunate for that. Thank you for being in it too, by the way.
Hey, bringing worlds together from Colorado
that's right.
to Wisconsin, right there. So.
Darn right. And you guys got all the snow, and we don't.
What's going on with that?
I know, right? But so like the drive though, or the why for me most recently has become not letting down all the commitments that I've made. I mean, for me now, it was kind of like what drives me is like, I guess to dumb it down, you could say reputation.
Yeah.
Like I want to sustain the reputation. And when I feel like when things get to a growth cycle and your business is blowing up and you're doing a new location, or you're doing this, or you make a good presentation and you get a good group or whatever you're doing, and you have all these successes, like you and I were talking before the call, there's other stuff that's falling apart then.
Right.
And everybody's pretty hush about it in social media world because, we got to paint a good positive picture as best we can. And I agree. I don't like negativity either.
Right.
But about being real is saying, when this part's going well, then this part's getting smashed. So recently my why certainly has been to figure out how I can operate physically the way that I have been, taking care of my body physically. I think I can do a better job of taking care of myself mentally.
Sure.
But the main focus and why that I keep dancing around is I don't want to let anybody down. My why is to not let down all the people, I guess, that I've made commitments to and that rely on me.
Right.
And even though that is my why, every day I question the fact on whether or not I'm doing a good enough job with that. And I think that keeps you hungry and keeps you going, and so that's what wakes me up every day is I want to fulfill my obligations. It's definitely something that my parents, I was blessed to be, first of all, born in this country, but born to 2 really great parents. One owned a business, one was a teacher. So I got, the right and left of world. I got the mix and stuff, but I also just got 2 caring people that were there. And, that advantage all in itself, I don't want to take for granted at all either. So I want to make sure that I'm doing what I should be doing to honor those things. And I can promise you right now, I'm not doing all of them. Wow. So I'll admit that right after I say it, because I guarantee you I'm not doing as good of a job as I could be to honor all the people that I should be. So
the honesty out of here, everybody. Look at Dan doing this. I mean, but Dan, what you said is
embarrassing, but it's true. So,
but it's honest, it's real, and that's what people really want to engage with and understand who you are as a person, a professional. Being a man of your word is one of the highest, and most important things that you can really focus on. Say if you're going to say it, do it, and then continually do it. I think that's a beautiful thing, and that stems so much further than just business. And, we were talking about balance before we started recording and going into this. And, there's a huge illusion behind that because, as you said, you're adding to one thing, you're taking away from something else. I think that at the end of the day, I really, really like the fact that you address that to the audience out there, is that, you know, you have so many people that are relying on you, and maybe it's not thousands. I mean, you have over 100 in your office as professionals that are looking to you, leadership, that sort of thing. But then you have your clients and their people and their sphere, your communities, what's going on, your individual family. So no matter how big or small, you should still be a man of your word and live with integrity like that. And
well,
I love it.
Well, and what's funny, and I don't want to jump ahead to the, you know, who I kind of get influenced by, but this topic that we're talking about specifically, and I might be screwing up the date, but I think it was April 21st, 2016. I had to write it down in a leadership manual at a seminar that I was at with Darren Hardy. Okay. And it was an intense day with him. But he was the first coach to what I say is, you know, when somebody zings you or whatever. I don't know what the new little cartoon thing is where they zing each other, but sure. He was the first one to zing me, and it was based off of what we're talking about, and that was, all right, everybody, you know, who in here has a, you know, high level of integrity, you know, whatever. Of course, everybody, you know, raised their hand. And, at least I think everybody did. Sure. And you know, then he said, okay. Does that up to and include yourself? You know, and because then he went into his explanation and everything, but he's like, I think everybody in here that raised their hand is a liar. And, and I think that you lie to yourself, and he explained that. And while this might not be paramount stuff to some people that might be listening to this or watching this, to me, it was gut wrenching. Yeah. It completely twisted my stomach up. It was like, wow, you just called me a liar. And not only did he call me a liar, I can't argue with him. And I think that was a huge moment, you know, where I was like, gosh, you're the first person to call you something, and you're like, wait, shoot, you know, cause he's right. And then, it happened, again here recently by another coach named John Cheplak. Okay. And did it in a very similar way, but hit me in the other heartstring, which was courage. So I think I explained where my background was. I was, you know, I'm a wannabe hero. If I can be there for somebody in that moment, you know, or whatever. And then he said, why don't you switch these words out, that you don't have the courage to go home and tell your family that you don't have what it takes to do X because you promised yourself you would, and you don't do it. And so he bent my heart out of shape with the courage word, and he brought my little kids into it, and wow, twisted me up again and got me motivated. And, you know, it induces change. Yeah. And I know that kind of jumps ahead to a couple of people who've influenced me lately, but those are two huge things that come out of that, you know, that topic or that word. So, but I think that on the topic of motivating and driving you and really pushing you forward, all those things that you're focusing on is being, you know, showing integrity and honesty, but then courage through your life, and really to make as much impact in the community, to your family, your offices, your clients that are out there. So, I mean, this is great. I'm eating this up. Sure. Hopefully everybody's feeling this energy out here that Dan's putting out. Yeah, trying to. Well, and I mean, it's like lead by example, right? Like I guarantee there's not a stitch of knowledge that I could possibly regurgitate here that I haven't gotten or received from somebody else, you know, within my network or from somebody else. I don't think I've been terribly innovative. Hold that thought there though, just for 2 seconds, Dan, because you had mentioned, you know, sharing a stitch of knowledge and learning from so many people. And this is a perfect segue into the third question here, sure, which I really want to get into, because a lot of viewers, where they're watching or listening to this, they want to learn from the Titans, how they've grown their business, how they've scaled. So if you could look back at your career thus far and pick or choose one or two things that you added to your business or implemented that took it from one level to the next. Sure. What's that look like for you? What advice would you give out there to the other professionals? Well, what's super cool is, again, people might be expecting some sort of answer where it's just, well, I did this. But what's even cooler is now I can say, I did this, it was wrong, and now it's this. And awesome. So, and I don't know if I have the second one in that same exact nature. Okay. But I will say that the first one, and this, I don't know if I can put a year on this one.
Okay.
But for me personally, it was deciding that things that I am not good at, I should no longer do or really, have any part of. And I think, I don't know about everybody in the real estate industry where they started or whatever, but most people started somewhere where they had tons of hats on.
Yeah.
Or they definitely, their responsibilities were spread out over a lot of roles. And I'm not simply just talking about leverage. I'm not simply talking about, oh, well, I finally decided to hire this person. I mean, that would be some pretty useless information, I feel like, to some top end people that are trying to, what did you do? I hired Gigi. Now, Gigi happens to be amazing, but, but I will say this. I stopped being too proud of my ability to create, my ability to be the source, my abilities, to like carry it. Right. And I literally did start leveraging what I already had.
I love that.
And I think I'll give a big shout out to Adam Contos. He's the CEO of our company.
I love it.
We have a leadership team both in Denver, right? Right down the street from you there.
Yeah.
I'm also part of Remax Integra, which is a huge regional group with its own support pieces. Fiona Petrie is part of our major leadership there. Walter Schneider, the Schneider and Polzer family, getting to go to events and be with those people. And I also don't want this to boil down to, so the average of the 5 people you're around. Great advice there too. Yeah. It's no. What I am saying though is, out of that network, it was really important for me to find the people that could help me in my situation. And I had it to choose from.
Wow.
Integra, Ontario, I go up, Conrad Zerini, if you've ever heard that family's name, runs an amazing brokerage up there.
Wow.
Our region put on an event, throws it up there, says, come look at all these 6 different types of office spaces. This is how they did it. These are the plans. This is the big guy over here who did it all. Come on over here. I was a nobody.
Wow.
I mean, it's just a nobody. I have no idea what I'd have to pay to hobnob with some of the people that have now gotten me exactly to where I am. And I've been upfront with them, thank you for things that you've helped me with throughout. It doesn't matter, but again, that was the first piece, was going, I already have all this stuff here. I already have all these great local people, local resources or whatever. I think it was to sit down and make sure you are already getting everything that you're supposed to get before you worried about what you're not getting or what you need to get instead.
Right.
Maybe to sum that up, a better way to say it would be, find out where you are before you start complaining about where that is, or start planning about where you're going to go. Wow. Because I'm not so sure most, and I don't think we do all the time either for certain, but it's pretty hard to start talking and planning when you don't know where you are. You don't have a current business plan, or you don't have a current whatever.
Right.
So some of it too was just making sure to constantly be seeing people that are doing it right. And when I show up going, so where's the easy button then, guys? How can you help me? Can you give me this? Can you give me that? Well, sure we can, but it's not going to help you. Right. Here, you can have it. You can have our scripts. You can have this. You can have that. You can have it all. It's right there. It's not going to help you. But this is going to help you. Do what I did 5 years ago. Do what I did 6 years ago. Start building. Basically start lifting weights. Start, eating correctly. And many years from now, your business can be right. So I think that was the first one. I love that. I think the second piece, it follows along with that, but then it's that next step then, right?
Okay. Yeah.
You knew where you were. I think the next step for us was being not innovative, but at least at the beginning, when new models were coming, and I'll explain it. For instance, my team model is a little different, but I feel like in our area, once a team, for instance, within our brokerages, because we have amazing independents, and let's face it, nobody's really not on a team anymore.
Sure.
An independent agent has 3 or 4 support staff. I don't really care where they are. If they're at a professional company doing this full time,
correct,
they're not doing it all by themselves.
Right.
But when I talk about the sustainable, the sales teams, entities, their own sub-brand,
Mm-hmm.
they eventually need to have their own thing, or they want to go there, or they don't. But I think we started being really upfront with planning with our agents, with our teams, with our space. We averaged 9 years ago when we took over this company, I think we averaged 145 square foot per person that was here. What a lot of that space probably looked like. There was dust on it. Mm-hmm. There were computers that would sit idle, those kind of things. And now, and I know it's not an office tour day, but like now people come in and like the whole office is everybody's office.
Wow.
And there's
Beautiful.
a place for everybody to be. And I'm not trying to rent office space to stay in business as a brokerage. Right. And I think that's what I see mostly is people still wading through rent and just things that aren't of real true value anymore. Mm-hmm. So we've tried to, so I think the second thing was recognizing that our role was changing significantly at the brokerage level, which I think it did very significantly. The risk versus reward when it came to both recruiting and now retention, which the teams are figuring out for the very first time is a thing.
Right.
The pressures and, who's had to sacrifice time in order to seek out either help or profit or whatever else. I'm just going to turn this down a little bit. It's getting dark outside. All that changed. So we really needed this second run, get ahead of it. Yeah. Don't fight things. I think we all learned a big lesson from Zillow and, other big entities that have worked their way around the relationship between the agent and their consumer.
Sure.
Now, obviously it needs to go back that direction, and we can't wait again. We need to listen and give people what they want and be proactive, be professional. And I think you and I talked about it. Mm-hmm. If we don't do all those things, because we know in real estate, at least the middle is going to erode a little.
Sure. That
you're probably going to be a top end professional. You're going to be full-time. You're really going to be doing it. Or you're going to probably be down with DIY or doing it for free for ancillary services.
Wow.
And I don't think the middle is going to be there much longer, at least not in a strong way.
Yep.
So we want to stay ahead. Pick where you belong, or pick where you feel like you want to belong, and don't get comfy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a ton of information in there, Dan. I want to dissect it just a little bit before we move on. So going into the beginning portions, I really like the fact that you addressed, you need to know where you're at, what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then really where to start, and then start taking the action, not just gathering all the silver bullets, gathering every single piece of every puzzle that's 30 years down the road. You're not using that now, right? So prioritize and then start taking action, I think, is crucially important. Learning from, I don't want to say smarter, more seasoned, more people that are in depth, into what you're trying to accomplish, that have walked the talk, that have been there, I think is crucially important. So surrounding yourself with that. Into an additional note, talking about really, adjusting that as things go along. And it comes to me as everybody has a hypothesis or a thought process of what they're trying to do for their life and their business. Mm-hmm. What happens is you have to take it to market. You actually have to take that idea that you put all the steps in place and you've had all these conversations and taking the action, bringing it to market, to clients, and see what's going on. After you get the result, right? Then you have to take feedback and then start all over again. It's a vicious cycle. It's
a vicious cycle, but I think too, it's fun because while all the change was going on, I certainly, when I was explaining all the office changes and whatever, well, the space changes were happening along with the comp changes, along with the services changes, along with everything else, right? Well, in any event, the teams then and kind of figured out where they were going to be or how they were going to maybe do, and some people maybe went off on their own over here, and now you see a lot of people maybe that went off into their small groups like, shoot, this is really expensive. Let's all get back together and we just won't call it a company. Right. Wow. Still company though.
Right.
And it's like, oh, I didn't want partners, but you're doing it again. We didn't want bricks and mortar. Yeah, but you're renting a space. So it's interesting with those changes. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. But I love where you're going with that, though. There's so much, tangible information that's going through there. And you mentioned Adam. We've had Adam Contos on the show, and shout out to Adam if you're watching or listening.
Yeah.
Brilliant fellow Titan. And I just think that you said, not to say you're the 5 people, but you had mentioned that in a joking way.
Oh yeah,
it's so true in so many different forms or fashions.
When you've had Kendall Bonner on, you've had you've had some of my, my great ultra homies, like my work family. And I know that can get used a lot by people,
Sure,
and it's
sure.
like kind of corny and stuff. But when you'll drop everything and go to somebody's funeral across the country, or, you're genuinely not feeling good about something that bad happened. I mean, come on, those are real relationships. Yep. And that's where I like to, like with what we're doing right now, I used to poo-poo it. And I have another story about my mother and her being a Clash of Clans leader, if we want to get into that later, and how it made me give a new appreciation for online relationships. But
yes.
Either way, like that is the network, those people that you listed off. Honestly, there's a lot of days where I just need that motivation. There's also days where, and I think this is kind of killer. Somebody pointed it out to me the other day.
Yeah, let's hear it.
And I'm going to try and give them credit, but you have the people who influence you.
Mm-hmm.
You also have the people that are already there that decide to do nothing, but still be there. My mother-in-law, in some cases, sometimes it's like, they're just there to hear it, to deal with it, or whatever, but they're still just going to be there. They're not there to fix it for you. They're not there to, whatever, but, and they have tons of patience in your life. You could be really working on some stuff for a long time. And I know that that's probably reserved for real close friends and family, but
sure,
they're there for you then after you're done screwing around.
Right.
If you know what I'm talking about. And it's like, those are invaluable. And I think, like, as much as there's the people we want to add and the people who influence us, there's also the people that are just there not influencing us.
Right.
But without them, man, I don't know. I'd have fallen over. This now new Titan would have fallen over a long, long time ago. Time.
The humility that's out there, though, Dan. I mean, the honesty and integrity that you're just exuding is fantastic and inspiring. And I know that people are watching and listening to this, whether they know you or not, are just being really, really pumped up with what's going on. I want to shift gears on this, though. Talking about a little bit more on the personal or professional side. And this is the tricky part of this particular interview and series. It's the challenge question. So. With challenges, I always lead into it this way. We all have them, right? Whether it's in the past, we're dealing with them now, or in the future, no one's exempt. But I'm a firm believer, it doesn't matter what happens, but what we learn and how we respond to them, and then essentially what we can share. And it's not to downplay pain or sorrow or suffering, but more so to think about what we learn from it and what we can grow from. So
for sure,
if you're comfortable, Dan, sharing a
challenge. For sure, I am. And here's what's cool about the challenge that I want to share. It happened 3 days ago.
Wow.
And I'm changing the one that I wanted to share. All because of it. And I think it's probably pretty good.
This is great.
In any event, we can all probably associate, at least in real estate, with disappointment and not getting the deal, not getting the nod, not getting the confidence from somebody or whatever, but not succeeding. And I think it's always probably the same couple of things that happen, after you reach adversity or a challenge.
Right.
You've got your people who quit. You've got your people who don't quit. Pretty simple. I'm definitely not a quitter. So at least I don't think it's okay to quit.
Right. But
I will say that I've said it out loud more than once. Man, I want to quit. Man, I don't want to do this, or man, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Even after being trained by somebody to say that you don't quit, I've still said it out loud. Right. So I think that it's not just quit or don't quit, but then it's all right. After you experience a failure or even a perceived failure, because some of these aren't failures, but you're taking them like one.
Sure.
So I didn't win. It's interesting, but I had an opportunity over the last couple of years to recruit a very, very promising group of individuals who then joined with another group of individuals. And I found out recently I wasn't the choice. I wasn't the answer.
Right.
And they evaluated everybody in town.
Sure.
And, put us up against some amazing competition, gave us more than a fair shake, as far as a chance to win and everything. And for the very, very first time in my life, I am positively motivated by my loss and happy to be in second place. And it's because I know that I put everything on the table that I could. Leading up to it, I think I did whatever I could.
Sure.
But here's the part is that I don't think it matters whether I truly believe that or not. I need to.
Wow.
And I need to believe in the fact that I did everything the best that I could. And if you don't believe that, it's very motivating because you know what you got to go do.
Sure.
And so what's interesting and while, don't get me wrong, disappointed as hell.
Sure. Yeah.
And by the way, I think I misspoke. I technically found out a few days before that, but it was kind of more solidified.
Yeah.
And heartbroken.
Mm-hmm.
I don't deal emotionally well with, disappointment,
right.
Or anything. I won't claim to be good, but this is the first time genuinely I'm not like uber depressed. I didn't, oh man, I don't feel that way.
Wow.
And I think it's because abundance versus scarcity, when you cross over that, and I'm not saying I've been living in a place of scarcity in all aspects of my business and life, but certainly I felt that way the second I found this out.
Right.
And you instantly go to that, you
go right there.
You go right there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was insane to me though, that the very next day that I woke up, I felt better. And then the next day better. And the next day better. That's new. That's new for me. I think, I don't know how to explain it. Certainly people around me helping me feel confident in what we're doing is right. Knowing I'm not in it alone. You never are.
Sure.
Regardless of whether you're at a big company or a small company, somebody's rooting for you. And if they're not, well, we got bigger problems.
You're in the wrong place.
Yeah, right. But hard to say. So I don't know if that explains the challenge that I've had, but the challenge would be to effectively correct your attitude after defeat and not let it hit you. And I know it hits agents all the time.
Sure.
When they get a couple bad beats in a row and their confidence is affected, it's very noticeable in a conversion rate.
Right.
So my challenge out to everyone is, I suppose, and I hope this works for me, and I hope I can, continue to feel the way that I feel about it, but
love it.
Come in second, figure out how it could have been first, fix it and forget it. Right? Like, I don't know. That sounds like a Mel Robbins, fix it and forget it thing. Another lady I listen to all the time, like fix it and forget it. Right. So, and I don't want to say that I've got that down again. Sure. I think everybody online is memeing and speaking at everyone as a form of leadership, but they don't practice what they preach. And that's one thing where, I give shout out to a lot of my leadership and what actually I'm trying to do now.
Sure.
By emulating people like you. I have, creating a podcast, kind of trying to show people what you should be doing by doing it, and if that's what my leaders are doing, then they're saying, you better do the same thing. If you want your people to pick up the phone, maybe you should record yourself making phone calls, whatever it's got to be now. But yeah.
I think that's beautiful to share that and being vulnerable with everybody. Dan, it's not easy, so I want to thank you right off the bat, but I think that
I'll regret it later when I watch the recording.
You're like, there was no tears. Everyone.
Actually, no, we're good.
Oh, okay, here we go. But I just think that it's beautiful for everybody to really understand that the most successful people on this planet, they all have failure. Failure is a part of that success, and I think that the faster that we all understand or get more and more comfortable with the failure, the rejection, and move on, learn, right? Figure out, like you said, hey, I'm in second place. Why did I come in second place? What can I do to improve that? And then keep moving,
and you better just take some darn action. I mean, if I get anything out of, Adam and John a lot in one of our coaching groups, it's like, go, like take the action, at least be there. It's interesting, but when you have a leader of your own showing themselves, in the gym, by themselves, working out, kind of reach physical goals, and they're reaching business goals because you're working with them, and they're showing up, or this, that, or the other thing, all feels great. But if they don't have anything to emulate, how would they know? And not only that, I don't want to sit here and that sounds already pretentious as hell. First of all, I would argue all of my agents have a higher IQ than I do. Most of them are way better at sales than I am. There's certainly a bunch of, attributes that a bunch of people have that I don't.
You're a good man, Dan.
But it is pretty obvious to see. I don't like watching my leadership, and coming from a military background, I got horrible marks on my NCOERs for not standing back and delegating. It's still something I struggle with to delegate, but I'm getting better and better at by watching others do it and how they do it, and the benefits that come along with it and whatever, right? Well, you can't tell somebody these things. You can't tell them that leveraging is going to help. You have to show them.
Sure.
And that's what's super cool is the motivating factor behind me coming in second place, because here's what I feel about it. And this hopefully translates to what everybody's in real estate right now is doing with their marketing, doing with their messaging. But like, I wanted to make an impact. I know I would have won if he could experience the differences. He evaluated them.
Sure.
Super smart guy.
Right.
He's better than me in this industry. He knows more. He evaluated properly. I didn't provide enough experience to win.
Wow.
And I'm getting a lot of that out of my coaching now with aforementioned people too. Like, hey, how do you get the experience? Obviously video is a huge way to do that. But once you have the video, how are you getting people to interact with it? Why would they?
Right.
I love that question. That awesome answer. What email copy should I send to get people, to open it or whatever? And I'd like John's answers would be like, why the hell should they open your goddamn email? Those are the best questions you can get back from somebody, like, why the hell should they open your email? Well, that's a good question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how are you going to get them to experience you so that they make the choice you want?
Sure.
And so me losing big time is going to motivate me to figure out now how I do a better job of something I already know is good.
Right.
I've got buy-in from people, testimonials, it's working, right? How do I get people to be able to experience that without being here? And, I started thinking, you can set up phantom accounts so people can join your meeting. I don't think that's going to cut it either. People are being served through their email, through social. So I think what it is, lead by example.
Yeah.
Get as many people as you can. I posted a video of our holiday party this year, not too long ago. It has like 4,000 or 5,000 more views than any other video we've ever posted. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
It's a lot of fun to watch, right?
Yeah.
And that is like the first thing where I'm like, that was all our holiday parties have been a blast the last 9 years that I can remember, the parts I can remember. But the video encapsulated it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean people want to watch it. That doesn't mean the people I want to have watch it want to watch it.
Yeah.
So that's the place I'm going to be playing in 2020 for sure is that gap. So
I love it, Dan. This is huge, everybody. Hopefully you're taking major notes and really absorbing this, and pause it, rewind it, do whatever you need to. Reach out to this man. I'll have all of his contact info below. I want to go into my actual next favorite question into this particular. It's the travel back in time question, Dan. And this one, I really enjoy just because it brings me back in thought process. I'm a movie buff, that sort of thing. There is no time machine like Back to the Future, but if you could travel back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice or two, and now this will be any age range, any time frame, for any reason, what would you say to your younger self?
So I almost changed this one a couple of times. The first one I would say is join the Air Force, not the Army. No, I was just joking. There was a joke running around for a long time where I was like, oh, I would have eaten better if I got, no. I love the Army dearly.
Yeah.
If I could go back when I was younger, I would definitely given myself the advice around the age of 15 or 16 years old, or somewhere in there, to not focus on any one thing that you wanted to go do with your life, because you aren't possibly going to be able to know yet. You're not old enough to know. Your attributes, while they might be measurable through testing and other things, you're just not even close to who you are yet. And I don't think the society that we're living in these days either is letting people figure out who they really are that early either.
Yeah.
So people are making huge life decisions. Now let me precursor that.
Sure.
I've been dating my wife since I was 16 years old.
Okay.
Don't regret that. I joined the Army. And I didn't stay in it for 30 years, but I very much don't regret that, being in law enforcement. Regret is I don't know who gets credit for the rocking chair one, but it's like sitting in a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere. And whoever said that to me years and years ago, it stuck. So thank you. Regret is a waste of time, but unfortunately it's still there a lot.
Right.
And I think as you get older, regret fades in some, and regret really grows nasty in others.
Yeah.
And so if I could tell myself that advice, I would say, hey, you don't need to focus. I really focused on what I thought, I was going to do my whole life, and it didn't end up being that.
Wow.
Now that doesn't mean, who cares, right? I mean,
Sure.
Whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old and you want to go make a change, make a change.
Yeah, agreed.
But I think I was too focused before I even knew, who the heck I was. I knew I had a gift to socialize with people and connect with people. And I knew I wanted to help people in some way, shape, or form. Like there were certain things I knew, could have just waited. Could have tried more things. I certainly saw a lot of the world. And I would definitely give my younger self the same advice to go through the military experience that I did. And I definitely would have said, don't be afraid when it's time to have kids, and when it's time to do all those things, you're going to be horrible at it. Or you're at least going to feel horrible at it, But now we're getting into the weeds.
No, I love that, Dan, though. There's so much in there. And I think that for me, and a lot of people are connecting with this section too, because I am deeply into that, is a lot of us when we're younger, I think that we're so focused on a few different things or directions that we want to go down. And as adults, that can adjust too, where you have tunnel vision.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, there's good and bad things with that. To be focused, put your head down and get to work on what you need to be doing at that time, I think is crucially important without being distracted. But the difference between distractions and just having vision are two totally different things. And my case in point is always having vision when you're driving down the road. You're not going to have blinders on the sides of your face when you're driving down the road. You want to have your peripheries on, right? You're focusing straight and back, but you still need to be able to look at your side.
You're still swiveling, and
and that's okay. That's smart. So I love what you were saying there.
And I think we can get tied up pretty easy by laser focusing, and not only that maybe teaches us the wrong thing, especially if you get into a business like real estate.
Yeah.
You can't focus on any one thing, and so I think maybe we're making a little connection here on why personally that was more of a challenge for me. But I think a lot of people do struggle with that challenge. So
agreed.
Still made sense. But
agreed. I love that. And again, not changing anything that you've done in your life because you're the man who you are today because of those things. But I love that. It's one of my favorite questions. So this is actually a crowd pleaser into the actual show and series into it. They want to know what the Titans are feeding their minds, how they're growing intellectually, and what's going on. So you had mentioned a few influencers already, but what do you read or have read, podcasts?
Sure. So I'm in the process, and this is also going to be embarrassing, but it's so Simon Sinek.
Yes.
I'm reading Infinite Game right now,
Oh,
and
very cool.
book's been out for quite a while. So
not that long.
So well, I know, but so I'm in the middle of that. So as far as a book that I'm reading right now, I've read a couple of other pretty decent ones. Relentless just recently was a good one. But the major influence that I'm getting, from my network, and it is a lot to do with my internal leadership and stuff like that. Because here's what I've found.
Mm-hmm.
We need professional coaches to draw certain things out of us, which we do invest in very often right now. But our network and learning, from them is still going to be the bigger part.
Well said.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Sorry, just lost my train of thought.
No. That you were talking about, the network of the actual coaches and things that you're learning.
Yeah.
So you mentioned some books. That sort of thing.
And then the influencers that were, that I've, I guess, seen most often are all starting to have to branch into different mediums like you.
Yeah.
Doing podcasts, doing their own thing. So I'm watching my CEO, Adam Contos, do all those things and trying to copy what he's doing, so that I can, lead by example, doing those things. And,
sure.
So a main influencer there. But, one of the things that's also been, I think, kind of influential is watching the retirement of some people in our industry too.
Okay.
And giving that parting advice. So while this might not be happening as much in offices,
sure,
please, if you have people that have been in the business in your office 20 years or more, have lunch with them more often. Oh, wow. Because the stuff they know is going to be really relevant again right now.
That's brilliant.
Big time. It really is going to be huge. Your influence is, again, we can almost go back to my point of like, where are you at right now? But my influence, I have several brokers that have been in the business twice as long as I have at our company. And they all are starting to enjoy the fact that they are consultants for us. And we're drawing invaluable amounts, of experience, from those people. There's no doubt. One of the other things that I'm using, at least to, I guess, for professional development, not just influence, but somebody asked me the other day, they're like, dude, you windsurf and you snowboard and you mountain bike and you do all this. Like, how do you do all this? And I'm like, nobody's doing all this stuff at the same time.
Right. Well, you could.
You could, but like, so I want to make it clear that, like, with everything that I'm into, and I don't want to make, I find an influencer for the thing that I'm into. Sure. So on YouTube, like, I follow a couple people that are into certain kettlebell workouts and calisthenics, like specifically, right? In the podcast world, you and I talked about local influence versus national influence and how people are literally selecting the channel.
Sure.
So me doing a local podcast with local business owners, it's going to speak to a completely different people and a different desire, than the people that are going, man, I want to hear from the bigger picture, the national scene, what's going on. So I think, not to beat around your question, but I've got so many damn influencers now. I'm not so sure I could give you a list that we could get through, right? Because every piece I kind of go look for my new thing. Bob is my kite surfing guy here in town, or whatever. I've got my friends that I downhill snowboard with, and people I do this with, and my family that I take to karate, and, like, whatever. The influence, though, it seems to be majorly changing. But if I had to go back, though, and say, okay, who are the monsters? It'd be my parents, really easily. It'd be my first sergeant, Keith Miller, my first sergeant in the Army. Wow. Pam Roshine, my business partner and mother-in-law, like, for all these years. Yeah. And, like, literally, my wife has like I said, like almost, I know she's influenced everything we've done.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I didn't list her off till just now. Like, sorry, honey, sorry.
You got the shout out. You got the shout out.
Yeah. Sorry you didn't make the list a little bit higher up, or whatever, but you get the idea. Like, what aspect of your life are you needing to be influenced in? And I can tell you, who those people might be, I guess.
Well, Dan, but that's the point. And you're the very first Titan out of 148 episodes before you that had mentioned it that way, had broken it down in such a way where you are selecting influencers for sections of your life. There's not one influencer that's necessarily going to hit every single thing that you
I got a great example of this, by the way. Some of my best, my dear friend Brandon, him and I have been musicians together since we were 16.
Love it.
Brandon is not married and doesn't have kids. Okay. I'm married, have 3 kids, a 10, 8, and 4-year-old, or whatever. Like whatever. Our lifestyles are extremely different.
Sure.
I don't think he's coming to me for single dude advice, and I don't think I'm going to him for a lot of parenting advice.
Right. That's fair.
But I'll tell you what, when I need to rock out or I need someone to listen to me and really be able to, just make me feel a little bit better or whatever.
Yeah.
He's my influencer, and some of my other best, I could go on and on. I think.
Yeah. But that's a beautiful example.
Cool.
That is a beautiful example, Dan. No one's ever said it that way on the show. And I think that that's going to hit a lot of people out there and going back to the earlier notes is, figuring out what your needs are and what you're trying to accomplish, and then finding those influencers or that material or that knowledge that you can grow and learn from, and not try to find one catch-all or a super guru or super influencer, but really just look at it into the micros. Now, the order that you put it in, to me, being a film nut, when you have somebody and there's a film and there's certain actors and actresses, and then with Al Pacino, right? They leave the best of the best for the very end. Sure. So I think that you did that in the right order, my friend. So
there you go. Thanks for that, man.
You did it in the right order. You left the best for last, for sure. But Dan, this has been filled with amazing information. It's been an absolute honor. I want to wrap this whole thing up with a final question. Now, this one ends up being a quote or mantra that sums you up as a man, as a professional. What's that look like for you?
This one's changed a little bit recently too, in the last 4 years of my life. But it's an easy one. I think a lot of people can relate to it pretty easily. But I with my weight, my physical health, being physically fit and being an athlete and a soldier and some of those things, and then having the family time, or whatever for a period of time there, and then looking back at pictures and going, wow, holy cow, I gained a lot of weight and I didn't care about my health, and I was putting just poison into my body all day, every day. And just, I think that, waking up from that has been the greatest just journey. Wow. Needing to lose weight and needing to get back into where, physical health as that peer, back on top of it, like got it figured out. Oh crap. Just look at what we talked about at the beginning of the call. What else now? What's suffering? And certainly other things have suffered to get myself back physically in shape. But now, the advice I've been given is make sure you can go,
Right. Well,
shout out to Cheplak, like you gotta be able to go. And so the mantra I will leave everybody with, and it's very militaristic, but it is stay hard to kill.
Love that.
It's too tough. It's too tough for the business roles. And sometimes it's too tough for some people, or they look at it as, man, that sounds a little violent, or it's not even that. It's this is a tough world, and you can make it tougher on yourself, but you can certainly make yourself stronger and better every day, making you harder to kill, making you harder to get rid of, making it harder for others to get out of your way. Whatever it is to make you feel tougher and more self-confident. that thing. But that mantra to stay hard to kill, I think there's already a t-shirt line, unfortunately, that already has it, or a workout video app or something that already has it or something. But, it's an old military mantra, I'm sure, from back in the day or whatever, but stay hard to kill.
Well, Dan, I think that sums you up beautifully. And for everybody out there in the real estate world and community that you made such a huge impact, please continue to stay hard to kill, my friend, because it's been an honor and a pleasure to hang out with you, this afternoon and really just go into this. So I want to officially say you're a real estate titan, my friend. And
thank you, sir.
Yeah, this has been awesome. And everybody out there, thank you so much, as always, for your time and attention, your love and support. If you like what we're doing here at the Real Estate Titans, please don't forget to like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and have a listen on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. We have some exclusive content on our Instagram, so go over and throw a like on that. But live every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location. We'll catch everybody on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.